Hello, namaste, or adab. Welcome to our Meet the Author session. And today we have with us a very dynamic and talented author, Ashisha Chakraborty. Ashisha is a PM YUVA author and Write India winner whose debut novel, Misadventures of a Salesgirl by Rupa Publications, is loosely based on her experiences as a sales manager. Her second book is a work of historical fiction with National Book Trust. She has been a part of various anthologies and ebooks. Her articles have been published in leading newspapers, and she has won many accolades for her wonderful short stories and poems. She regularly blogs on her online diary of sorts, The Mind Pin. So let's meet Ashisha and know more about her. Hi, Ashisha. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. It's wonderful to be here on the Saturday evening.
Thank you, Ashisha. And it's our pleasure completely to have you here in our show and talking about all your achievements, all your journey. So let's start with your writing sojourns first. So how did it start? Like when did you, came to know or you realize somewhere within yourself that you are a writer? So how did it start?
Well, I think when I was in school, I used to pen down a lot of thoughts, articles, poems. Of course, those were very amateurish. And I used to write diaries and diaries with what I mean, so much data, and I don't know what I'm going to do with those diaries. But then the whole idea was there. It germinated there. Of course, I am a voracious reader as well, so there was always this feeling, this need to connect with the reader on the other side of the book or the writer on
Right.
the other side of the book. When I actually started blogging, it was, I think, when I was doing my engineering and I had a blog called The Mind Bin. So that's where I started blogging. Indie Blogger and Blogger noticed, and there were these competitions which kept happening. So I won a couple of competitions, got nominated for the Indie Blogger awards and all. So then I was like, okay, this is going somewhere. And then certain newspapers picked up some of my articles, they published it. So it kind of just went on a little slow, but it was steady. And I was like, now it's ready to go to the next level. So the next level happened during the Delhi Poetry Festival. We were
Okay.
supposed to, send out our poems, and this one actually won and was published in a book of poems called Kafiana.
Right.
So this was another start. From poetry, I think poetry is something which has been with me throughout. So I've been doing it off and on. I do a bit of slam poetry at times. I do a little bit of insta poetry at times. So then I decided that yes, I want to write a story. And my first short story that I wrote was for Readomania in their one of their contests, which got published. So I think then we started. Pardon my voice. But then during Write India, which was started by Times of India, I really got exposure that you know, because it was a national contest. So everybody kind of participated. People from all walks of life, people of all ages took part. So that was pretty good. And I was doing my MBA at the time. I won the prompt for Shobha Day. I also was one of the top six for Manu Joseph and Twinkle Khanna. And then I knew that yes, it's time for me to write a novel now. So
That's
this
nice.
novel, yeah. So this novel that came about was actually not supposed to be my first novel. I wanted to write something in for some literary fiction. But when I actually entered into sales, my first job, I mean post MBA, it was a sales job, and I was like, the story needs to be told. At least, if not for me, then for all the people who are going to enter this domain someday or the other.
Right.
I'm
Right.
going to
Right.
learn. So that's how it happened, and the rest is what you know.
Wow, that's quite an achievement, Ashisha. You have done so many things, during this journey, and it's commendable that you have reached here today. And we are really waiting for your second book as well. But before that, we really want to know about your first book. That what motivated you to, choose that topic, and how what was the thought process which was going behind writing the book?
Well, I think, as I said, my initial idea of writing something was completely different. When I was younger, I wanted to write a detective novel. When I grew older, I wanted to write a literary fiction. So it all kept changing. But then this idea happened because I felt that the story needs to be told. And stories are our most powerful weapons or our most powerful change makers. So I felt that
Absolutely.
story of a girl who has never done sales or who has never been thrown into a different uh, place where they don't know, she doesn't know the language, she does not know anybody, she's there to fend for herself. How does she manage? And I did not want to give a very starry idea, because that's not usually true, because everybody is
Yes.
not a topper. Everybody, people would be average people, would just be going out to say fulfill some dream, have decent job and stuff like that. So I wanted to take that and take the superpower of an average woman, which is persistence, nothing else but continued effort. And I wanted to take that and focus on solely that. So the underlying theme of this novel is exactly which the reason why it's called misadventures is because they are not adventures. The things that went wrong, they are
Yes.
misadventures.
Yes.
But despite all that went wrong, she made it. She made it happen. And I think that should give some, inspiration to the people who are currently maybe struggling or maybe, learning the ropes in the corporate domain, because it can be quite challenging for someone who's never been here. So,
Yes.
Misadventures of a Sales Girl actually was born out of a need to tell the story of an MBA professional, and maybe not just an MBA professional, but a sales girl who basically just enters a different domain and tries to sell. Because selling, by the way, requires you to lower your self esteem a lot and, go out there,
True. True.
talk about your
Absolutely.
product, talk about your product, like,
Yes.
please take it. It's not easy, by the
It's
way,
not
it's really
easy
not
at
easy.
all. True.
So that feeling, I wanted to capture that feeling. And I don't know if the book did justice to it, but I wanted to make my best effort to do that, because I know people face that a lot. So I wanted to be there for those girls who will face that more, especially because there are very few women in the sales domain, extremely few. Yesterday, I think, not just yesterday, a few days ago, I was putting up a photograph on my Instagram, and I realized, yeah, there are very few women. I was the only woman in my team lunch, and I was like, what the f is happening? But it's true, and it's not even deliberate. So I did not want it to be like a, hey, it's a women's thing and stuff. No, it's not. I just wanted to say that it's somehow, this is how it happens. It's somehow, this is the whole ratio. It's a weird sex ratio, but it is. So
Yeah.
that's how it all came out.
And I think that's basically a reality check which everyone needs to know about, because we
Absolutely.
always see that, a very fancy and a very nice picture of any of the profession that we opt for, but we don't know the challenges that one is going to face once you enter that profession. So that's really a very good approach that you've come up with such a book which is going to give a very clear picture to all the readers, to all the people who are associated with those readers also, that this is what exactly happens, and you be prepared for all these things as well. So that's
Exactly.
really
And not
nice.
be scared. And not be scared.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that is a very good approach that you have, put forth there in your book. And how much planning did you, did it take place in shaping the book,
So the writing of the book, as I said, it was more of a diary entry kind of a thing. So at the time, I named it Sales Diaries. So it was as simple as that. But then I changed it to third person because, of course, there was a lot of fiction, there was a lot of drama, there are romance subplots, and other things also basically going on, not just the sales part. So then
Right.
I decided that I would have to plan it a little more. So initially, the first draft took like 2-3 months. It did not take a lot of time. But post
Okay.
that, the editing process took a lot of time. It took me about a year to come to a conclusion because the script had become too long. It was a 1 lakh word script, maybe 1.1 or 1.2 lakhs, which is
Right.
not something that publishers take from a newbie author. So I had to cut it down quite a bit. So yeah, that preparation did take time. Also planning the chapters, knowing what happens after what, because you kind of lose the thread. Writing a short
Yes.
story is easier because you know when you end and when you start, everything is fresh. But
Yeah.
in the process of writing a novel, you kind of lose the thread in the middle. Even as an
Yes.
author, you kind of forget that, oh, I don't know what happened. Where did that loose ending go and where did this go? So for
True.
a debut author, this was tough, definitely. So that took a lot of time. So the editing part took about 1.5 years.
Okay. My God, that's quite an effort. Whenever a writer comes up with a book, we just, takes, I think, maybe a few hours or maybe a day or two to read that book and complete it. But for an author, it's a complete journey of maybe months or years that have been there into it. But it's a complete journey, such a long journey that an author, goes through.
I totally agree. And it's a daunting journey. You often feel like giving up because who will read
Yeah.
this book? But okay, I'm glad I wrote it.
That's wonderful, Ashisha. And what, according to you, is a requisite of a good book? What do you think is a good book like?
So recently, I did a session at JNU. In fact, yesterday I did a session where I talked about this Venn diagram. I showed them a Venn diagram where I wrote that the thing that you want to write, the things
Okay.
that the readers want to read, and the thing that needs to be written. So there are these three circles. So I'd made this Venn diagram, and I was like, what we want to write might not be what the readers want to read. What
Yes.
the readers want to read might not be what actually needs to be written. So to find that sweet spot where all this combines, and is where your book comes in. So I feel that the best book or the good book is one which kind of fills all these three boxes. What you also want to write, because you don't want to go against your personal ethics, your personal writing
Right.
ethics.
Right.
Similarly, you do not want to write something that no one wants to read, because you have to, I mean, you require a reader, otherwise you might as well write a diary. So
Yes.
something which the reader also might be interested in or might be looking for. And finally, a story that actually needs to be told, and not just to add to the pile of books or to the pile of stories. So I think that would be a great book. This is what I feel.
So that actually requires a lot of planning. Like before starting your book, you need to observe, you need to, contemplate upon all these things as well, all the other areas also about the, thorough knowledge about the interest that the readers have about your capabilities and what is the final outcome going to be.
Absolutely, absolutely, you're bang on.
That's great, quite a job.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. Sadly, the payments are not
Yeah.
requisite, but it's a full-time job.
It is indeed. I'm sure about that. And once the book is out, it's there in the hands of readers, it's there in the hands of critics. So, how much do you think a critical opinion matters to a writer?
Interesting, actually. This is something which I've also just gotten to know because of my recent experiences. I think it's truly very important for a debut author because they are just starting out. They don't know what they've written because they're so attached to their script, and moreover, it's not even attachment. It's like they've read it so many times, it's old stuff to them. They cannot find any mistakes, or even if they do, I mean, I kept figuring out, I kept reading, and I'm like, I don't like this book at all. I'm sick of it. So, but somebody would come and tell me that no, I love the book. Somebody else would again tell me that hey, there was a little too much sales in it, or somebody else would say, hey, I wanted more romance. So it is very dependent on the kind of people who read, first of all. So you need to know who you're writing for. Firstly, as I said before, the people who want to
Yeah.
read. So every book is not for everybody. A
Right.
sci-fi person will not enjoy my kind of a book, or a contemporary fiction person or someone who likes to read stories may not go for a horror, say, or a thriller, say. So depends on the kind of reader. All the same, it always helps to have a good perspective and a balanced approach. So whatever negative reviews you get, by the way, I think I've got a critical review but not really got a negative review yet. So that is a good thing. So when the critical review comes in, you realize, okay, this could be worked on more. So for example,
Yes.
if there's a character which you did not utilize to the fullest, you kind of just forgot that person. So then that is a critical review. Or perhaps maybe you could have increased the pace or reduced the word count. So these are some things which would definitely help. So in the next book you can keep these things in mind. So recently I got a phone call from a very good friend who told me that I was really looking forward to your book, but there's a lot of sales in that. So maybe he was not expecting a lot of sales. Maybe he was expecting a lot of romance, a lot of fun, which is there. But I did not want to take the cake, which is cake away, which is the sales part. So it again depends on what people expect out of the book, and at the end, everything helps. Any feedback helps because you want to grow as a writer. So
Right.
critical feedback is, I mean, inevitable and really important.
And one should be, positive enough to take the feedback in a very positive manner as well. You need to accept it also. So that's also very
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. I think that is super important because unless you do that, you cannot grow. And that is true not just for a writer, that is true for anyone. I mean, if
Anyone.
you have if you're in any profession, you will definitely get feedback. You cannot be perfect. And that is what will help you grow and move up. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Ashisha. So, what, according to you, are the ways to improve the writing skills?
So I always tell my friends and all those aspiring writers in my workshops that the most important way is to read, and read as diversely as possible. Read as much stuff as possible. Go to any lengths. Read good books, bad books, ugly books, beautiful books, mediocre books. Because unless you read, you won't be able to differentiate between what takes your fancy and what doesn't. What kind
Right.
of writing you prefer and what kind of writing like you can't stand. So reading is super important, and that is the first and the most cardinal rule. I mean, the cardinal rule of writing. This is something I firmly believe in. So mostly what happens is when people become writers, they forget when to read, how to read, because they probably don't have time enough. But that is
Yeah.
something which has to be incorporated in one's schedule because reading is super important. Another way is to make sure that you keep writing basically because you have to practice the craft. So be
Yes.
it 2 words, 5 words, 20 words, not even daily, maybe weekly you got to write 100 words, 200 words. So I don't it's been quite some time that I've written something long form, but I make it a point to write something or the other, even if it's an Instagram post, even if it's a short poetry or verses or something like that, because it helps
Right.
keep you going. Because after all, this is your craft which you want to hone, and unless, like those woodcutters, if you don't sharpen your axe, you will grow rusty. So
Yes.
that would be my second important tip. And the third important tip is, do go for master classes. I think they are good because sometimes we are looking at things from a certain perspective, and then suddenly someone gives you. Because I recently went for this workshop where I was so involved in my head that suddenly the person told me, I mean, the workshop mentor, they just said that, leave everything behind. You got a plain sheet of paper. Here is your prompt, or maybe no prompt. This is what you have to write, and you have 20 minutes or 1 hour to write it. So that
Right.
kind of freedom when you go into a workshop and you learn and you become a student really helps. So I definitely opt for workshops sometimes, even if it's not presided by somebody else, maybe just doing it on my own, just free writing, free form writing. So that should be good.
So, even the online workshops, do they also help?
Yeah, definitely. Depends on how you take it, as in online workshops definitely help. Why not? I mean, you're supposed to write.
Right.
So as long as you do that, it's okay. But if you're one of those people who are not able to pay attention much online and keep switching tabs, then I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
need to
that was
offline.
actually that was actually I was thinking, because there are some people who are more attentive offline than online. That
Yes,
attention span is not there when you're sitting online in front of a gadget and listening to somebody. But somebody who's there moving around you in the same room, and there are other people as well, one becomes more engaging. That becomes more engaging, I feel so.
I agree. I agree. That part is completely right. So that was an in-person workshop, and I think that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
All the same, some workshop is better than no workshop. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely
yeah.
true. And like you just emphasized about the reading part. So, who has been your favorite, author, or the favorite read that you have, gone through recently, or maybe long time back somewhere, and you
So
still remember it?
I've had these segments of authors who I love and who I look up to a lot. So of course, Jane Austen, Arundhati Roy, Virginia Woolf, Salman Rushdie, Vikram Seth, Amitav Ghosh. And so there are many, like, of course there are many, just like many writers would have. Some of the authors works really touched me. Oscar Wilde's books I really used to enjoy, because they struck a chord somewhere. Depends again on your age. At what stage are you? So when I'm during engineering, I started reading Ayn Rand's works. I was hooked. I was like, why did I not discover her before? She has changed my life. And I was such a big fan. I used to look for, I mean, I had all her books. I had underlined all her books. So she was this very big, standard for me. Then Jane Austen, of course, classic, so Pride and Prejudice and whatnot. There's another contemporary author who's written The Time Traveler's Wife. Audrey Niffenegger, loved the book. Will never forget the book ever. She has completely blown my mind. Even if she doesn't write a book ever, I think she's there. She has reached there for me. There's
Right.
this Norway writer, Jostein Garder, who I swear by. His writing is simple, easy, but it holds so much meaning within some simple words. And of course, it's translated. The one that I read, of course, is not in Norwegian. I read a translated version, but I loved it. And when I was in Norway once, so much wanted to meet him that I actually spent an extra day in Oslo just to try and find a way to. But of course, I was young. I mean, I was a much younger person then, and I was like, of course, I couldn't meet him, but I would love to someday.
That's wonderful, Ashisha. So that means you have quite a, rich library at your place as well, that you are reading all these books throughout. So you love
I
keeping
do
all
have,
these books there with you, even while traveling also you carry them along.
but while traveling, I carry my Kindle because I like to travel light. But I do have one paperback at least with me at all times, just in case the Kindle goes out of charge.
Yeah.
I have my Aldico on my phone and a separate book on my phone, just in case the Kindle and the paperback get finished. And yes, I have a huge library, both at home and other. Whenever I go, I just start collecting books. But then, there's a space crunch, so I don't know how to handle that. I'm clueless. I'm still figuring it
The
out.
books are themselves going to create their own space there. If you're willing
I'm
to keep them, they'll create their own space.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I do keep an online library. Like, I have an Excel sheet where I maintain my books. So people who want to borrow from me, so they can just, tick it or
Wow.
something like that. So it's easy, if they can
Yeah.
read it as well.
Yeah. That's nice, Ashisha. And we really want to know about your upcoming book as well.
So the upcoming book is a part of the PM YUVA scheme, which was started last year as a part of this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav,
Okay.
and it is going to be published by the National Book Trust. The book is tentatively titled "The 13-Year-Old Queen and Her Inherited Destiny." So it is based on the Naga woman, the Naga freedom fighter Rani Gaidinliu, and there was a movement, Haraka movement, which was based in animism and which was based on animistic beliefs. But this woman basically helped get rid of the British influence on the northeastern parts of the country at that time. And she spent about 14 years in jail just for the sake of her country. And she was young then. I think she was 17, and she came out, I think, yeah. And she kept fighting till the end. She died fighting. I think she died in 1993 or 1992. So yes, so it's a lovely life that was depicted. So I've tried to kind of put it together. So let's see how it comes out.
I'm sure it's going to rock. And whenever and whichever book of yours is going to come, it's going to have a very realistic approach, and everyone is going to love that. So we really wish you all the best for all your coming endeavors also. And
Thank you so much.
once the book is published, how much do you think the social media or the digital marketing helps?
I think it helps to a great extent, because unlike the days of yore when books were published by a precious few people, everybody's publishing books these days, and that's a wonderful fact that we've democratized publishing, and we get to like read a variety of books, a variety of writings from different countries, nations, and cultures. But at the same time, it has made it much more important for reaching out to the right audience. And you can only reach out to the right audience if you are somewhere on the internet, on the World Wide Web. Otherwise,
Yeah.
people won't be able to discover you. So there are two, three ways. First is you have your own channel, you have your own like Instagram, and you have your own website. And another way is, of course, the distribution way, the offline way. But because of COVID, the pandemic and stuff, and also because people are moving more and more to online ways of working, I think this medium has gained a lot of traction. So definitely digital marketing has a huge hand in book publicity and promotion, because otherwise how else would people realize? So I believe it's hugely important, and I think that's the only thing I've also done for my book. I've only talked about my book on Facebook and Instagram, and that's all that I've done. So I believe strongly in this. Yes.
That's really nice. And any advice, Ashisha, that you want to give to the upcoming writers?
I think one of the advice which I would also like to give myself in the upcoming books is that research is super important. Because if even in fiction, a certain amount of research helps you get that authentic flavor and a variety of views, so that because after your book is published or after you publish a book, people think you're an authority on that topic, and you have to know enough to be able to answer, to be able to understand those concepts. So I definitely feel this is important. Second thing I feel is discipline, because writing a book is not an easy job. You cannot just decide one day I'm going to write. You have to keep at it for days, hours, go back to it, and kind of overcome the writer's block or overcome distractions, life in general, because it's not a full time job, as I said. So discipline is super important. um, then, as I said before, reading is again important. So people who want to be writers must read voraciously, must read widely. And finally, I feel having an awareness of the publishing trends, of the reading trends and writing trends would also help, because that's when you realize, the Venn diagram I said, what you want to write, what you want to read, and what needs to be written. So I think that would help, because only then you will be able to realize if the story that you have fits this diagram, where does this fall in that diagram. So yeah, I think that would be my advice.
And this was actually such a beautiful interpretation of, what, how we have to, write the book and what steps we should take. So your Venn diagram is going to stay with us throughout. It's going to stay with us ever. And that was
Thank
really
you.
lovely. The way you have explained it, it is really a very important and a very crucial point that everyone needs to know about. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And my personal, I really want to know one, thing from you. How do you overcome the writer's block? So any tip for that? Like we all go through that. So how do you go? You overcome that.
So I'll again give an analogy. The a writer's block is almost like it's like an inertia, and you're trying to force things. So you stop forcing things and you start taking it in a flow. But then again, saying so is easier, doing it is difficult. So if you want to talk about some practical aspects, one could say that start free form writing. You take a piece of paper and write whatever comes to your mind for the next 5-10 minutes. Something definitely comes out. It might be
Right.
rubbish, but something definitely comes out. It's called the stream of consciousness. So something that your mind has come up with, you just put it down on paper, down pat. That's all. So it kind of makes you understand what's going on through your mind. Usually, a writer's block is not a writer's block, it's either an emotional block or a distracting block. Something else is blocking your time or blocking your mind space. Sometimes we also don't have anything to talk about, and which is completely fine. Which is the time that your body and your mind needs to know to step out, step away, and maybe go back to reading. Sometimes when we are done talking and done writing, why don't we listen a bit? So that's where you kind of absorb things from the surroundings, and then you form an opinion. So for example, every day you watch Netflix. I mean, not everybody watches Netflix every day, pardon me for that, but most of us, we log on and watch something or the other, and
We
we
do
form
that.
opinions. Yeah. So maybe start with an opinion or a movie review or web series review. I've seen a lot of my friends writing this, and some days for me, poetry works as a great this thing for a writer's block. It always helps me because verses are short and they're very honest, authentic. And if you want to say something, if you have something in your head, you just pen it down. So poetry is that thing for me. For others, it may be, as I said, a movie review, a blog post, a Facebook post, an Instagram post, and so that you do not expect too much from yourself. Like,
Right,
do not
right.
expect too much from yourself. A writer's block happens when you're like, oh, I made this, now I have to make this. You don't. It's okay. You just do what your heart says, and it could be this also. It's fine. So just remove that pressure off, and it'll be fine.
And just keep moving with the flow. Whatever is coming there, whatever is there in front of you, just accept it and keep moving.
Absolutely. Just go with the flow. And that's what writing is all about. I mean, creative writing is not analytical. That's why it is not analytical, because it's not
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Well, Ashisha, it was such an insightful session that we had with you today. Like, you have shared such nice experiences. You have given us a very realistic approach for improving our writing skills. And the tips that you have shared with us are just, I can say that they are par excellent. So thank you so much, Ashisha, that you have shared all these things with us. And we wish you very good luck for all your upcoming books and anything and everything that you're going to, take up in life. Wish you all the best for everything in life.
Thank you so much, Shweta. It was wonderful interacting with you, and I really hope the tips help because they are coming straight from experience, whatever little experience I have. And I do hope people enjoy my book. Again, I've forgotten to keep my book with me, but I really hope they enjoy the book. And thank you so much for having me.
We'll share the Amazon link also on our page for your book so that people can, they can just grab a copy and they can have the first hand experience of a sales girl.
That will be amazing. That will be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ashisha. And a big thanks to our audience also, who are always connected with us, who stay there with us, listen to us, and spare their time for us. So, everyone, please stay happy, keep smiling, and take good care of yourself. And you too, Ashisha. Thank you so much.
Bye bye. I got it on my phone, by the way.
That's lovely. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.